Hello, and welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
All right, Delora. We are back, officially week of Thanksgiving, and we are going to do a feel-good, feel-good-ish children's / a lot of adults' favorite film of the year, including Beyonce.
Yes.
Are you ready?
I am.
Guys, welcome back. We are recapping today Inside Out 2, released in June of this year and currently available to stream on Disney+. Quick summary. Teenager Riley's mind headquarters is undergoing a sudden demolition to make room for something unexpected. New emotions. Joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust have been running a successful operation by all accounts. However, when anxiety shows up, they aren't sure how to feel. And she's not alone. Cast: Kensington Talman as Riley, Amy Schumer as Joy, Phyllis Smith as Sadness, Liza Lapira as Disgust, Louis Black as Anger, Tony Hale as Fear, Maya Hawke as Anxiety, our girl Ayo Idabiri as Envy, Paul Walter Hauser as Embarrassment, June Squibb as Nostalgia, and Adele Exarchopoulos, hope I said that right, I think I butchered it though, so sorry, as Ennui or Boredom. Reviews. Rotten Tomatoes, 90% critic score, 95% audience score, and 89% of Google users gave this film a thumbs up. Delora, what is your grade for Inside Out 2?
I have talked about this movie. It has been a hidden gem. Again, we talked about it during Headlines and Hot Topics. It was just not on my radar in the beginning of the year. I mean, I remember Inside Out, the first movie. It was cute. You know, I hadn't rewatched it in some time. And so when they said they were coming out with the second one, I'm like, what's the point of this? What are we? Okay. And so I was in no rush. And so when it finally became available on Disney Plus, I was like, okay, let's see what this is all about. Because I remember that weekend when we went to the movies, the kids and my husband went to see Inside Out 2, and all the adults went to see Bad Boys for Life, which we talked about how much fun that was in theaters. So I decided to watch it, and it was deep from the beginning. And then obviously the journey towards the end with anxiety took me out. So brilliantly made. I don't know if a group of psychiatrists work together on writing this film or not, but it gets an A for me.
All right. I have watched this movie now thrice. First time, I watched it with one of my friends, so I was distracted, talking, what have you. Second time I watched it, I was like, all right, let me sit down and like feel my feelings. Everybody that I've talked to has a moment of like tears. Still didn't cry. Third time I watched it, obviously I watched it for the recap. And so I was really trying to pay attention to a lot of factors. And while I still enjoyed it, and granted, I watched the first one again, because to your point, it had been a while since I'd seen the first one, and then watched this one. I was like, okay, I see some of the more of the lessons. I see like the evolution. I still enjoy it, but I don't know. It doesn't, I don't think, hit me the same way it has for a lot of people as being like just one of my absolute favorite Disney Pixar films. Granted, I'm a huge Toy Story fan. I love Monsters Inc. I love The Incredibles. And so this is enjoyable. And I definitely think there are lessons to be learned from it. But it's just not at this point in time one of my faves that goes into like the canon. But the animation and Pixar's work continues to absolutely floor me because it's beautifully crafted visually, like
Yeah, the colors. Yeah,
beautifully. And even just the hair. I remember the hair being such a big thing when they reached that point with The Incredibles, just the movement. And
yeah,
you see that continued evolution of like Black women's hair from the coach to Brie. And I'm just like,
yeah,
yo,
yeah.
y'all continue to just slay with just the beauty of the animation. So it is a B plus, but is a B plus just because, as I said, when I stack it up against my love of some of the other Disney Pixar projects that really stick with me, that's where my grade is coming from. But still, an amazing film. So, spoiler alert, guys, as we get into the good of Inside Out 2. So Riley in this film is she's 13 now. She's hitting those teenage years. And our OG emotions, who I already talked about, are managing well, so they think. It's joy, it's sadness, it's disgust, it's anger, and it's fear, all at headquarters. And these emotions have been helping to form a positive sense of self and core beliefs for Riley, right? She's primarily feels good about herself. She feels like she's a great friend. So, all is well in their minds. Which of the OG emotions is your favorite, Laura?
My favorite OG emotions. That's a great question. It's in between joy and anger.
Interesting.
Joy, because obviously she's leader. I can identify with that. No. But then I also can identify with, I said this when I first talked about Inside Out too, essentially suppressing all emotions and focusing on the positive. And that's called, toxic positivity. And that's not going to get you anywhere. But I love how Joy is able to evolve, right? She's able to learn and take those lessons and continue to move on. Anger just cracks me up. And he actually cracked me up real hard in this movie. So yeah, sadness gives major Eeyore vibes. In some ways, this is reminiscent of Winnie the Pooh, talking about emotion. So sadness is Eeyore, Winnie the Pooh is joy, Rabbit is obviously disgust, Piglet is fear. And I wouldn't say Tigger is anger, but Tigger is more out there. You know what I mean? Like he's not
So
afraid to
Riley is
express.
Christopher Robin in this metaphor.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So, yep.
That's great. I love that. I am shocked that joy is actually not my favorite emotion because just like you, I typically go for the main character energy, in Harry Potter. Who's your favorite character? Harry Potter. You know what I'm saying? But I think for some reason, disgust really like just slayed me in this one. Like when she came down in a bonnet, I was like, shut up.
I legit was
Y'all
like, is she
got to-
wearing a bonnet?
Yes. I was like,
Wow.
so that's my girl right there. Like, that's my girl. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Like, I just found her to be very humorous. And I just love her, just the way she handled certain scenes, particularly once they get kind of locked away in the vault. And we see this kind of romantic feeling she has for a
Yes.
cartoon character or video game character, rather, all this
Yep.
stuff. I really enjoyed Disgust in this particular movie. So I was like, I think she's got my heart. So change with, Riley getting older is inevitable, right? Your emotions get more complex the older you get. And her life is also getting more and more complicated as she's about to enter high school. She and her friends, her besties, Grace and Bree, get opportunity to go to a hockey skills camp with the high school team and coach. Were you excited by the prospect of like, when you were a certain age, being able to hang out with like an older group of kids? Or did you gravitate towards like your peer group, or were you interested and excited to get to know like some of the older groups?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think when I was her age, I did stick a lot to like my grade, but in high school, I joke all the time. I probably should have gotten the class before me's yearbook than my own yearbook. I'm not going to give it a year because that's none of your business. Okay. I'm thinking about Tabitha. She's like, if that's your business or something like that, that's my business. Okay. Because I was in it more the senior class of my junior year's yearbook. Um, because frankly, I had a lot of upperclassmen friends at that point. But I know what it's like to look up to the older girls, specifically middle school. So y'all are gonna love this again. This may date me a little bit too. So when I was in middle school, my parents were very strict on like no makeup and your girl don't want to be fast like those other girls. But this is when all the upperclassmen, eighth graders, would take their eyeliners and line their lips and then put the lip gloss on top of it. And if y'all know me, I love a good lipstick moment, liner moment, like day one, right? And I was like, I wanted to do that or whatever. Um, and my parents were like, absolutely not. You know what I mean? But I remember looking up to the girls and, how they did their hair and how they did, what bags they wore. You definitely were like, okay, peep that. I want that when I get older type of deal.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever really like romanticized people that were older than me necessarily, but I definitely know that I was comfortable around older grades even when I was younger just because I had an older brother, right? So I feel like it made me more comfortable because I would be around his friends or his peer groups or whatever. And then also when I was a freshman, I was cool with one of the senior girls that I had gone to school with. I knew her brother. So like I sat with them at lunch my freshman year. So it was just, I was comfortable, I was cool, but my core friends have always been my own age, right? Like I didn't like, oh, I'm not hanging with my friends anymore for the sake of hanging with these older kids. Cause for one, older guys always kind of creep me out with the way that they navigate like the fresh meat girls once you enter new grades. Like when you come out of middle school and you enter high school, they're vultures. When you come out of high school, you enter college, they're vultures. So I think that always kind of put me off a little bit to it too. But for sure, I think we can all relate as you're getting older to like peer pressure and wanting to fit in and wanting to have friends. And I think, Riley is no exception, especially once she kind of finds out that, oh, I may end up having to enter high school alone and my social dynamics may shift. So all of it made a lot of sense in the journey we see her kind of go through in this film. But Joy in headquarters is still trying to keep the status quo and lighten her load. She's shooting memories to the back of Riley's mind that she feels like are not beneficial for her to have and kind of dwell on. They're in for a rude awakening when that puberty alarm goes off. Okay. And demo at headquarters begins for emotional expansion. Literally overnight, all her emotions, all of Riley's emotions are extremely heightened. Do you remember puberty hitting you hard and quick?
It's so funny. When I was watching the film, one of the signs was like, watch out, puberty is messy. Do I remember hitting hard and fast? I don't remember it, but I do remember moments of it, right? I remember especially as a, you get older and as a woman, you start filling out certain places. It's like, oh, this is really happening. Like, you know what I mean? I have to ask my mom to buy me a bra. Like,
Yeah, I was a late
OMG.
bloomer on all those things. But once the period hit, we knew it was on and popping.
Yeah, that's true. And shout out to Pixar's film that technically, in a very, allegory kind of way, talks about that turning red.
Check out the
It did
recap.
not get enough play. That movie was done very, very well. But I do remember having big emotions of like, when I was upset, I was like really, really upset, and everything felt like the end of the world. And I feel like everything feeling like the end of the world lasted outside of puberty too, because I just feel like when you're young, you just feel like I'm running out of time. And as you get older, you're like, can we slow down,
Yeah, seriously.
please? And thank you. Let me
Seriously.
smell the roses, please. Because these years are flying by.
Truly. Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like I don't remember some like major shift, but I do remember developing an attitude. You know what I mean? Like I think that was probably the most significant shift for me is I remember those years of like just really having a very short fuse and popping off a little bit. Never so disrespectful that my mom probably wanted to slap me. I don't know, Ma, you tell me. But definitely know that shift happened a little bit in terms of my personality. And I've had to adjust. But, I think Riley, again, is just like going through what is typical and nothing crazy. And it is a big life transition when you are kind of going from like childhood innocence to, your body, to your point, is developing, but also the expectations of you are changing when
Yes.
you get into high
Yes.
school.
Yep.
So it's very real. So cue these new emotions moving in. We got anxiety. We got envy. We got embarrassment. We got, how you pronounce it again?
We
Ennui, and occasionally nostalgia popping up. Joy,
nostalgia was adorable.
she was. And I think we all have nostalgia, even more children. So you on time,
I agree.
nostalgia. You come on in. Joy is trying to be welcoming, right? Because she's learned her lesson from the first movie and how she was really not trying to deal with sadness and all of that. She knows now all emotions are healthy in doses. And so Riley, as I mentioned, finds out that her best friends have been assigned to a different high school. And so she's trying to navigate camp. She's trying to navigate these high school players, especially her favorite, Valentina Ortiz. Girl, anxiety has been around for all of 5 minutes. And suddenly she is calling the shots.
She said, I am taking over.
I mean, and tried to come in at first very demure, very mindful, right? Like she came in like, I just want to be of service. I just want to help y'all. What do you need? I can do whatever you need.
But
Next,
it's so true. Anxiety does not care. She doesn't give two flying ducks, especially how it's presented like in real life. It doesn't care what you're doing.
when I tell y'all, anxiety is the most realistic part of this film for me. Absolutely. Because she broke Riley's sense of self off and
So
literally
quickly.
bottles up all of the OG emotions and kicks them out of headquarters and decides to rebuild Riley into a quote unquote better version. Like anxiety being the villain absolutely tracks.
It does track. And the so I feel like I can laugh about it now, but in all honesty, there were years, especially through puberty, my teens, and even part of my early 20s, that I didn't realize the emotion that I was experiencing. was called anxiety.
Same.
And so when you realize what it was, and then of course at that time it was a bit taboo, right? And in some spaces it still is, unfortunately. But once you realize the thing is a thing, you're able to better manage it, right? And anxiety shows up in all types of ways. Performance anxiety, you know, public speaking, especially for shout out to like, you know, I can speak to firstborn girls. It's like the level of expectation is so high that I just thought this emotion was just driving me. I thought it was just nerves. Like, oh no, hun, no, that's not what that is. It's nerves adjacent in some ways, right? But it's like the persistent dread of the future. If I make a mistake, yeah, that's anxiety.
Yes, ma'am. The OGs are sent to the vault as suppressed emotions, where they run into cartoon character Bluefy, video game character Lance slash Blade, and Riley's deep, dark secret. This was fun. I enjoyed this little segment and scenario because I think the visualization too of like casting certain things away in your mind
Yeah.
when you've outgrown them or you no longer need them. Like, I just love the visual interpretations of things like that. Like Bluefy being like, guess what? She still loves the show, you know? like, like I just thought it was a lot of fun. And then Deep Dark Secret being this huge black blob. And then once
Yeah.
they escape, being like, nope, sorry, we still ain't, I still can't
We're
be
not
unlocked
ready.
just yet. You know,
Yep.
like it was just a fun visualization and interpretation. And then again, the crush that Disgust has on Lance slash Blade is just comical to me. It was very, very cute. And
Yeah.
his defense mechanism of turtling.
Yeah. I was like, that's an awful game design if this is, true.
Freaking hilarious.
My favorite interaction was with Anger in that freaking fanny pack. He was like, we ain't got time for this. He's like, oh, that cracked me up.
So Sadness makes her way back to headquarters while the other OGs search to recover Riley's sense of self that anxiety is actively destroying. She has Riley ditch Bree and Grace for Val's team, has her lying about her interests and even where she's from, right? They talking about this girl's from Michigan.
Because she was afraid to correct people.
And last but certainly not least, breaking into the coach's office to look at a notebook with her thoughts on the players. Did you agree with any of Anxiety's decisions for Riley?
No. No, not really. I feel like the only time Anxiety made sense was when she was talking about you want to look at your future, you want to look at all these different scenarios and you try to determine how to get them right. But that's where, anxiety is the devil because you cannot control the future. You cannot control the outcomes. One of my favorite quotes essentially says, you do everything you can do within your control and let everything else go, right?
Yeah.
When you operate based off anxiety's game plan, you make reckless decisions. You
not even just that, you don't know
you
peace.
actions.
You also don't know peace.
Exactly. And can we this is part of the reason why I love this story so much. The fact that they have been able to evolve the story from the first movie, where at first it was like all about the emotions, but then it's like these emotions go into your sense of self. I was like, that is so deep. So deep. And you take it for granted unless you are mindful of it, right? And you take the time to evaluate like how you view certain scenarios and what are you going to take out of those scenarios and but it takes growth, in my personal opinion, to take it the next step further of like, okay, how does that intentionally affects me and my sense of self? I feel like so many of us navigate through life just letting things happen to us, not understanding how you internalize it, right? And how you view yourselves. And then when you're not mindful of it, that's when, feelings like anxiety creep up and you start second guessing yourself because it's like, oh, this did happen again and it wasn't great. And I didn't do the work to be like, okay, that's just that scenario. That does not change the fact that I am, great, successful, valued, loved, protected, safe. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Crazy that a kids movie. I mean, this is like Soul, right? Like y'all, we knew who your target audience was, and it was not the children.
It was not the children. The kids were like pretty colors, and the parents were like, "Oh my goodness, what am I doing with my life?"
Yeah, exactly. I need to reevaluate. Speaking of that scene where they called Joy delusional and she snapped, had me dying laughing. It reminded me of Mike Epps on All About the Benjamins when he was like, crazy for $50 million. I'm insane. That's what it reminded me of. But it also reminded me that, like, to your point, Joy has been the leader of this crew, and we see the weight that leadership carries, right? So
Yeah.
my question is, why is Joy the one who has to have the plan and save the day? Like, why? Who? Yes, she was the first emotion, but why is she the only emotion that is in charge?
That's a great question. I almost wonder if the decision to make Joy the leader is because, as a society, we always shoot for the positive, right? Like, you don't want disgust to lead, do you? Anger. Nobody wants to be considered angry, especially a little girl. You, I don't think that would have went off well. Fear, sadness. I think joy is just a natural choice, really.
I hear you. And at the same time, I'm like, do we default too much to having someone make more unilateral decisions? Because again, joy serves a purpose, as does fear, as does anger, as does sadness, as
It's
does
also very
disgust.
American too, right? We love
And
our
wanting a
happy
happy
endings,
ending.
and
Yes.
we love, yeah. So
And
I
it
think
may be in Amy
culturally,
Schumer's contract as well. But no, to your point, culturally, and also the fact that she's a young lady, that makes a lot of sense. And also the fact that I think we all strive towards happiness. That is a goal that most people have.
yes,
You don't strive towards disgust. You don't strive towards sadness. You don't strive towards fear. I get it. But at the same time, the crown was heavy for Joy in this film.
it
And I felt
was.
for her a little bit.
It was.
So, after helping to kick them out of headquarters originally, why do you think embarrassment was willing to help sadness when she broke back into headquarters with them? Because he helped to hide her.
That's a great question. You know, I didn't think that anxiety didn't really have much loyalty with the new batch of emotions, right? I feel like she took over because she took over, but I think embarrassment probably saw like something's not right. We probably shouldn't packed up all these emotions and shipped them out.
I agree. I think he started to see the error of anxiety's ways, and the potential hazards that were being caused by the things that she was choosing to do again, because she's turning Riley into somebody that Riley may not even like, essentially. And so
Yes.
one of the most relatable moments for me personally in this film is when anxiety has a whole crew sending negative projections to Riley's mind of things that could go wrong while she was trying to sleep. I literally put on my notes, I said, hate you.
Yeah.
Like, hate you. Because this has happened to me
Stealing your
so
sleep.
many times. Like, I even have, those anxiety ridden dreams, where, oh, you're
Yeah.
rushing because you forgot a homework assignment or you're about to miss a test you're not prepared for. Now, for me, a lot of times it's work. Like I had a work related, like little terror dream last night, and that is
Yeah.
anxiety related. So, what
Yeah.
resonated most with you?
Frankly, the highlight of the movie, and that's probably why I was emotional about it, was when Joy finally came back to the headquarters and saw Riley having a freaking panic attack. And she managed to get through, and she tells Anxiety, "You do not determine who Riley is." To me, that was absolutely relatable in terms of like, I feel like I know what it's like to have anxiety wreak havoc in my emotions, and to the point where it's like how do I get back to the core of who I am, to the core of what I'm doing, you know? And I say that to say, yes, thank God for prayer, thank God for meditation. There have been times where I had to reestablish myself in the word of God, right? As like, I am a child of God, I am loved, I am, again, I am safe, I am protected, I am not alone. And that scene was just so powerful to me because it's like, do not forget who you are in the midst of this emotion that tends to wreak havoc.
I think most people have felt that and felt that in that scene. And again, for me, anxiety being a villain is spot on for what a lot of people deal with. And to your point, not letting your emotions and your feelings dictate your sense of value and your sense of worth um, is a powerful statement and a powerful lesson to take from the movie. But before we wrap things up, I wanted to talk about a few more moments as we are kind of trying to get the crew back to headquarters. And I wanted to start with first loving the visual interpretations of things like a brainstorm and
First of all,
sarcasm. Like,
Ashley,
fantastic.
Ashley, so the first time I watched it, I think I was doing something and I sat back down and they're in like, this windstorm. And my daughter was there watching. I was like, what's going on in the movie? She was like, Mom, it's a brainstorm. The way I cackled, I was like, of course it's a brainstorm, baby.
It was fantastic.
Oh, it was so good. It
Yeah.
was so good. And then sarcasm, you're right, was hilarious because I feel like growing up watching Home Improvement and Jonathan Taylor Thomas character being my favorite, I feel like he was my introduction to sarcasm in some ways. But I feel like sarcasm was really big in the 90s, early 2000s television. It is a second language, and I speak it well. I mean, people who listen to this podcast must understand that. you know,
Fluent. Fluent.
fluent in
Yeah.
the art of sarcasm.
Yeah. And even it wasn't just that a chasm was created, it was also your tone of voice changes when
Yes,
you would talk
yes,
across it. Like, again, brilliant. These are the brilliant
yes.
things the ideas that I love that they put into the film.
Same.
So the new Riley that anxiety has been working so hard to build, her sense of self is now damaged. And the core belief that we're now hearing from her is that she's not good enough. And yet anxiety will not let up. She's still fighting for control, you know? Gave
Yep.
that child, to your point, an anxiety attack that I think like in the movie, or as I was watching the movie rather, I was like, oh my God, where's a bag? Like somebody come over and rub this child's back. Like it was, you could, like,
Yeah.
I felt it in my body, you know?
Yeah.
And the other newbies, like Envy and all those folks, they finally saw the error of their ways and how out of control this had all gotten. So once Joy and the other OGs make it back to headquarters, you know, it became a lesson for everybody. To your point, that line that Joy delivers of, you know, you do not get to decide and determine who Riley is, neither does Joy. And
Right.
Joy realizes it's something she has been doing when she's been shooting those memories to the back of
Yep.
Riley's mind.
Yep.
So all the emotions needed to take a step back and let Riley be in control of what it was she needed. And it was such a visually beautiful moment when you saw the like sparkly dust coming at Joy and Sadness being like, Joy, she wants you. I was like, oh,
Yeah. And then, the fact that I thought it was so beautiful because I feel like we've gone through exercises of like doing things that bring us joy, especially when we were young, right? Trying to reintroduce that into our adult lives because we get so caught up in mortgages and careers and relationships that, to your point, it was like hockey brings her so much joy. Let's have fun. Let's let go of these, you know, expectations that she placed on herself, by the way. um, yeah.
the deep dark secret as a mid credit scene was hilarious to me because the deep dark secret was burning a hole in a rug. I literally put in my notes all the innocence of youth, right? Like
Yes.
that's what you have locked away, is that you burned a hole in a rug. God bless.
I know.
That vault is gonna get real full here real soon. Did you
Yeah.
did you cry again on this watch?
No, I did get emotional, but like just knowing how like important the scene is. But no, I didn't cry.
What was the moral of the story for you with Inside Out 2?
For me, the moral of the story is we are complex beings. And it's okay to feel your feelings, but just be mindful that, no one feeling is just taking over and wreaking havoc.
Balance. It's about finding
Yes.
balance. Anxiety can be beneficial for helping you prepare and be, you know, what's the word? Proactive. But when unchecked, will
Right.
drive you insane.
What some people say, these emotions, they mattered when we were hunters and gatherers and you know as we evolved, our society is so much different now. So in some ways it's like because we sit at a desk all day, the jungle is on Teams and not necessarily
On Zoom for me, baby. All freaking
in the
day,
wild.
every day.
So it's like, it's different.
Yeah. I think the moral of the story, too, is like you can't repress your feelings, or you shouldn't. Like you should move through. Um, because so again, the point of like Joy also, like anxiety went out of control. But if you think about it, Joy was not managing Riley well either, in the sense of
Yes.
the toxic positivity that we talked about previously. There
Yeah.
has to be a balance. And sometimes you are going to be sad and you have to be okay with releasing bad emotions. Sometimes you are going to experience fear and envy and all these things. And it's okay to feel your feelings. I think that was important lesson for the story as well. Do you want to see more inside outs as Riley gets older? Because I've heard some people say, oh, now we need a version of her when she's an adult. Then we needed a version
Like in
of
her
her when
20s or
she's
something.
yeah, when she gets even older. And you know what I mean? Like, do you want this to continue or do you feel like you're done with these emotions?
I don't know. I thought we didn't need this one, and I was wrong. Uh, because I really felt like they were able to evolve the story beautifully. I mean, I don't know what they'll do. I think it's interesting that there was a lot of speculation on Riley's sexuality, and in some reports, they had to do. The rumor is they had to do a lot of cleanup um, after Lightyear tanked, and the studio blamed that movie tanking because of the same sex kiss that happened. But I'm like, that's not why that movie tanked. The movie wasn't strong, you know? And I say that to say, with her being in women's hockey, are they going to be afraid to show, the different types of women that play
Hmm.
women hockey in a way without them being afraid of how people are? But
We'll see. I mean, maybe they'll wait a decade stretch in there to let it breathe and let the people who fell in love with this continue to age and develop as well. We'll see. If this is all there is, I think I'm totally fine with it. But I think there would be an interest and a value to see, again, the complexities and how people navigate and how they interpret the navigation of emotions as we age and as we get older. Because imagine if Soul or something like that had been based around emotions, that would have been fascinating. So, any final thoughts to share on Inside Out 2?
nope, it was definitely a great film. Like I said, it did take me a while to get into it, but it was well done.
Agreed. All right, Delora. All right, guys. Thank you so much. That is our wrap up of our recap of Inside Out 2. Leave us any comments on your thoughts on this film. Let's move into our hidden gems. What you got for the week?
All right, I have a movie, a Netflix original. It is that wonderful time of the year where we enjoy crappy Christmas movies, and this one did not disappoint. I am referring to Hot Frosty, starring Lucy Sherbet. I don't know how to say her last name, and Dennis Milligan as Jack Snowman. This sad, lonely widow put a magical scarf on a hot snowman and he comes to life, Ashley. This movie was ridiculous. And what I appreciate about it is that it was self aware. Sometimes these movies are just bad. And I think, you know, the writing and the cast were trying. This one knew exactly what it was doing. And I appreciate this, like I said, self awareness of it all. My favorite line, they're in her house, the TV is on the screen is Lizzie Lohan in her Christmas movie from last year. And Lucy says, she looks like a girl I went to high school with. And I was like, I adore this so much.
I've seen that scene and I haven't even seen the film. Okay.
Me and my daughter cozied up. We got our hot chocolates. We already have our tree out and our wreath. We wanted to get early, get Christmas going early to bring joy, and ahead of us traveling to Michigan. So we Because I'm telling you, by the time you get back from Thanksgiving, Christmas is going to be here in two blinks. It's like,
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
we already started. We also watched, shout out to one of our first holiday movies, Jingle Jangle. We had our annual viewing already,
I
and
watched
the
the Santa
soundtrack
Claus.
has begun as well. So, what do you have, Ashley?
I have a Peacock original series. This totally caught me by surprise. I had not heard about this show. I didn't know anything about it. I just wanted something to watch on like a Sunday night. Caught me. The Day of the Jackal, guys. 5 episodes currently out for season one. This series stars Eddie Redmayne and Lashana Lynch. Eddie Redmayne is an assassin. Lashana Lynch is a British intelligence agent. She is on the hunt for him. It is so good. It was so
Ooh,
unexpectedly good. And I'm upset that I started it before I could binge the whole thing. I'll say that.
oh,
So check this out if you have Peacock. It is definitely worth the watch. Very good, good job so far. So that is the Day of the Jackal. Be sure to let me know your thoughts. And that is it. That is
nice.
all. Guys, we will not be recording this week additionally because we are going to take some time to spend with our families for the holiday. We hope
Yes,
that you guys do the same. Have some good eats, have some good drinks, be merry, do your thing,
yes,
live
yes,
your best lives, eat some good pie, whatever moves you. We will be back.
absolutely.
We look forward to it. Please share this episode with everybody you know. Happy holidays. And in the meantime, till we talk to you again, be blessed.
Bye.